So UFC 319, Khamzat Chimaev versus Dricus Du Plessis is taking place this weekend. And overall, I think that this is the best card of the year so far. It is completely stacked from top to bottom with fun matchups like Dricus and Chimaev. Murphy and Pico, we get to see Pico making his debut. Chimaev and Dricus are both undefeated in the UFC. Jeff Neal, CP, Cannonier, MVP. There's so many stacked names on this card. So Tony has died. I'm going to be breaking down this card from top to bottom and just giving you my predictions for the card. Let's get straight into this, starting with the first fight on the card, which is Alibi Idris versus Joseph Morales. Now, if you didn't know, this is the TUF Championship. So the TV show, The Ultimate Fighter, I know it probably should have been ended years ago. Nobody even watches that stuff anymore. Like I certainly don't watch TUF. I watch, like, whenever I'm like in my free time, I'm not watching The Ultimate Fighter. Reality TV is kind of in the past. I feel like streaming has kind of taken that over. But I did a little bit of research into the card, watched these guys' last couple fights. Alibi Idris is going to win this fight. He is just simply the better fighter everywhere, on the feet. I think Joseph Morales is like, there's kind of that narrative around tough fighters being terrible. And how many of the last tough fighters have we cut from the roster? He fits that moniker perfectly well. I think Alibi Idris, or whatever you pronounce his name, I think that he perfectly fits into the UFC flyweight division. He has good striking on the feet, and he has decent grappling, but he's mostly a striker. And I think Joseph Morales leaves himself to get hit a little bit much. So I'm going to be picking Alibi Idris to win this fight by first round knockout, all right? The next fight on the card is Kareem Silva versus Dion Barbosa. I think that Kareem Silva is going to win this fight by decision. I think that this will be a classic 29-28 split decision-ass fight. Both of these people, they've beaten a lot of no-names in the UFC, like Caitlin Souza, Ariana Lipsky, she's terrible. And I'm pretty sure Barbosa has also beaten some no-names I'm pretty sure most of these two people's wins, their wins have actually been cut from the UFC completely. But I'm going to be picking Kareem Silva to win this fight just because I feel like she's shown an ability to be well-rounded. And I don't like Diane Barbosa. Or can I even speak? Holy Christ. Diane Barbosa, she's a wrestler. She's going to be trying to get this one to the ground. And I think that Kareem Silva is going to be able to stuff the takedowns, keep it on the feet, maybe work a little bit of clinch work, just kind of popping the jab, popping the leg kick, feinting at range, you know what I mean? So this is going to be a classic WMMA fight. This is the one fight on the card that it's this could have been left off and nothing really would change about the quality of the card, but it's a fight that's happening, so get used to it, people. The next fight on the card is Bryan Battle versus Nursultan Ruziboyev. Now, I have been a doubter of Nursultan Ruziboyev ever since he got the knockout over Cedric Demas by just poking him in the fucking eyeball. Now, he did beat Bruno Ferreira, and that is an impressive win. Bruno Ferreira is a really good fighter. But, fun fact, this guy used to fight at 155, and he is 6'5". So he is huge. He is not compact at all. 185 is what he should not be fighting at. I feel like he should be cutting weight to 170, even though he just his loss at 170 was to Buckley, right? He beat that Eric McConaughey who just beat Cody Brundage, and he beat Dustin Stoltzfus. Now, both of these guys, Battle and Ruziboyev, they're both former 170ers going up to 185. Bryan Battle famously used to weigh 300 pounds. He made his UFC his first couple fights in MMA, he fought at heavyweight. He was obese. And he's coming off of a questionable win against Randy Brown. I thought Randy Brown had it, but it was close enough where it could have gone either way. But before that, he was coming off a very impressive win over Kevin Jousset. And Bryan Battle kind of has that same style as Joshua Van, Max Holloway. He's a poor man version of Max Holloway where you know who he fights like? Oh, what is the guy? He just fought Esteban Ribovic. Bryan Battle is a middleweight, welterweight. This says welterweight on the screen. It's middleweight. The fight's at middleweight. Bryan Battle is like a middleweight Esteban Ribovic. And like he's super entertaining and he has a super fun style and it works. But sometimes he leaves a lot, like he gets hit a lot and he's willing to get hit to exchange. Now, I know Ruziboyev has like got a couple of knockouts in his last couple of fights, but this guy is primarily a wrestler. If he decides to strike with Bryan Battle, he will lose this fight because Bryan Battle is a better striker than Ruziboyev. However, I think that Ruziboyev will try to shoot takedowns, and he'll get a couple of them, but I think he'll get most of them stuffed. And I honestly think that Bryan Battle will find the chin of Ruziboyev at some point in this fight and drop him. Now, I don't know if he's going to finish him because he took Kevin Jusset to the third round. So, he took Randy Brown to the decision. And I don't think that he's going to be able to, like, how do I explain this? I think he's going to be able to find Ruziboyev, but I don't think he's going to be able to put him away. So I'm going to pick Bryan Battle to win this fight by decision. But yeah, I thought Bryan Battle, like, I'm kind of upset that he's moved to 185 and he can't make 170 anymore because I was very excited for his career at 170, and I feel like at 185, he's just going to kind of stick in with the rest of the people, but he does have lighter man skill. And Ruziboyev really hasn't impressed me in his performances. Like, I'm pretty sure it was the fight against Stoltzfus, which was really, really competitive, and I don't rate Stoltzfus very highly. I think they kind of rushed Ruziboyev into the top, so I'm going to be picking Bryan Battle to win this fight by decision, all right? The next fight on the card, we got Edson Barbosa, the highlight reel merchant himself, versus Drakkar Klose. Now, Drakkar Klose actually had a lot of hype going into his last fight against Alvarez, where he beat Joaquim Silva, he beat Joe Solecki, he beat Rafa Garcia, he beat Brendan Jenkins, and he beat one more person. And then he got in the cage with Yoel Alvarez, and he just got completely dog-walked by Yoel Alvarez. Like, he got put on a fucking stretcher. Like, he just could not hang with him at all. And Edson Barbosa, on the other hand, I know what you're thinking, bro. He's old, bro. He's a fucking hunk. He's 40 years old. He's 24-12. Bro, it's done, bro. I think that the level of opponent that like Edson Barbosa has lost to, Bryce Mitchell, Lerone Murphy, who's undefeated. I'm pretty sure Bryce Mitchell was also undefeated at the time. Giga Chikadze, that was prime Giga, like 4 years ago. His losses aren't terrible losses. Versus Drakkar Klose, I feel like Barbosa has been at the top of the division before, and he has shown why he is able to do that because his striking is super, super good. Now, you could say that Drakkar Klose could mix in the wrestling, but he's kind of dumb, and I don't think that he's going to be mixing. I think he's going to try to strike with Barbosa because I think that Drakkar Klose thinks that he can win against Barbosa on the feet because he has nice strike. He's well-rounded, and he's a better wrestler than he is striker, but I don't think he's that good, bro. And I know that's a weird thing to say considering this guy only has 3 losses in the UFC, and he has like 12, 15 fights and only 3 losses, but he's honestly just been given tomato can after tomato can. His best win is Bobby Green. He had a very close fight with Dariush before he got knocked out, but yeah, man, I think Barbosa will be able to get this one done. It's not like this is a super young guy in Klose fighting a 39-year-old Barbosa. Klose himself is an unk as well, and I just don't think that he's going to be able to hang with Barbosa in the striking. I think that Edson will win rounds 1 and 2, and I think Klose will probably win round 3, and he might win round 3 in a dominant fashion due to Barbosa gassing, but I think before Barbosa gasses, Klose is going to be getting pieced up on the feet. So I got Barbosa by decision. Now, don't let Chase Hooper's physique and status as a certified gooner confuse you. This guy is a fucking killer on the ground. Chase Hooper versus Alexander Hernandez is the next fight on this card. And I'm going to be picking Chase Hooper to sub Alexander Hernandez. Now, I'm going to say this. I think that this fight is a step down for Chase Hooper. I do not know why he keeps getting all these easy layups. He's getting like the fucking Michael Chiesa treatment right now. They keep just handing him unks and unks and unks. And Alexander Hernandez, he's basically like an unk in young form, even though he's 32 years old. He fights like a fucking old head, bro. This guy's slow on the feet. He's grappling is subpar. I think Chase Hooper is a high-level technician. He's on a crazy win streak right now, and I know Hernandez has put a couple of wins together, but it's against fucking Austin Hubbard. You know, Austin Hubbard, man. Don't play on his name versus Kurt Haliba. That's who Alexander Hernandez is beating. I think Jim Miller is a better fighter than Alexander Hernandez, and I think that they have, like, I wouldn't say similar styles, but they have some of the same strengths, you know. I think Chase Hooper is going to be able to get the fight to the ground, and I think he's going to be able to find dominant position. He's going to Aljamain Sterling the first round, just back take, and I think in the second round he'll find the submission. So I'm picking Chase Hooper to win this fight via gooning. All right, let's get on to the next fight, which is we got Jessica Andrade versus Lupita Gadinz. Now, the thing about Jessica Andrade is you look at her and you're like, damn, she's been around the UFC for a while. She must be pretty old. She's only 34 years old. Like, she's still in her, like, supposed athletic prime right now. And it feels like all of the secrets of Jessica Andrade have been figured out by her opponents, you know? And it really just comes down to this, bro. Jessica Andrade has no idea how to stuff a takedown. If you have power in your legs and you drive your fucking hips into Jessica Andrade, you're going to take her down no matter what, all right? And I think Lupita Gadinz has the ability to do that. I think she's a pretty good grappler, and I think that once she gets on, you don't even have to have good wrestling to get Andrade down, you know what I mean? I feel like she's kind of like in the same situation as Luke, where it's like, how are you this young and you're washed, you know? Now, this could be the situation where Andrade pulls the fucking rabbit out of the hat and says, bro, I finally got takedown defense, you know? But I'd have to be betting on something that I don't think is going to happen for that to be the case. So I think Lupita Gadinz will be able to get takedowns pretty easily in this fight, hold Andrade to the ground, beat her up on the ground, maybe a late submission, but Gadinz isn't, like, I'm pretty sure she only has like 2 submissions. I think Lupita Gadinz will be fine in this fight, so I'm picking her to win by decision. The next fight on the card, the GOAT of the sport, GM3, the legend who holds the most finishes in the UFC middleweight division, is fighting Michelle Oleek, and unfortunately, I am going to have to fade GM3. GM3, you know, I'm in a group chat with GM3, and I talked to him. He is a super cool guy. Who doesn't love GM3? But I think that his time has come. I think his style is a little bit outdated. And in his last performance, Brad Tavares is like not a good striker whatsoever. And he was piecing up GM3 on the feet. GM3, he looked like he had the same amount of striking as Bo Nickel. You know, just looping overhands, like not throwing with much of a setup. And he doesn't move his head. And he keeps his feet still when he's throwing. Now, if it gets it to the ground, it's a whole different situation. And that's what GM3 is known for, is his comeback wins. His ability to rally and find the sub. Famously, he's done this to like a bunch of different people. I'm pretty sure he did it to Brian Barberena, and he did it to Edmund Shabazian. And Edmund Shabazian was fucking up GM3 on the feet, and that fight honestly could have been stopped at one point. A lot of other refs would have stopped that fight. It was a 10-8 in round 1 against GM3, and he came back and got the W. GM3 can do what GM3 does, and that's definitely possible in this fight. But I think Michelle Oleek, he has a lot of fucking power in his hands. He dropped Kevin Holland. I know he got subbed by Kevin Holland. He actually knocked out Dumas. To beat Michelle Oleek, you kind of got to spark him. Like, you just got to, like, impose your physical will upon him. And I don't think that this version of GM3 is going to be able to do that, unfortunately, for GM3. I'm going to be cheering for GM3, but I'm going to pick Michelle Oleek to win this fight by knockout. GM3 has been finished in the first round a couple of times, famously, against Chimaev. I'm pretty sure he got finished in the first round against, what was that guy's name? I can't remember, but he's been knocked out a couple times in the first round. I think Michelle has the power, and I think he's training with fighting nerds now, so I definitely think Michelle Oleek has the ability to put GM3 out, but I'm going to be cheering for GM3, so yeah. The next fight on the card, we got Robert Green versus Diego Ferrer. I'm going to be picking Diego Ferrer to knock out Bobby Green in round 2. I think that this fight will go very similar to the CDF versus Michael Johnson fight, where Bobby Green is having a lot of technical success, and he's winning the fight. He's catching Diego Ferrer. And I think Diego Ferrer still has the power in his hands. The power is the last thing to go. And honestly, at this stage in Bobby Green's career, we have just seen him get fucking put out. Like, he's literally in this position at least once a fight now. This guy got dropped by Jim Miller. He got dropped by Tony Ferguson. Now, yes, he fucking knocked out Grant Dawson. I'm not going to say it was a fluke because he threw the punch, but it was a fluke. All right? I'm just kidding. But if Grant Dawson and Bobby Green fought 100 times, I'd pick Grant Dawson every time. All right? And I think Bobby Green wins that fight like 5 out of 100 times, and I think that was just one of the times, man. But the Jalen Turner fight, he took so much extra damage that he didn't need to take. And then he got fucking dropped by Patty, choked out cold, and had his arm snapped. And then in the next fight against Ruffy, he got put out with a spinning heel kick. So we've seen this guy get dropped and finished so many times. In his last couple fights, CDF, he's been around the UFC for a long time, and he's been knocked out before as well. Famously got knocked out by Gamrot, which is a pretty bad look. But I don't think he is as washed as Bobby Green, man. I think over the course of 15 minutes, he'll be able to touch Bobby's chin at least once. And if he touches that chin, Bobby's going down. So I'm going to be picking Carlos Diego Ferrer to win this fight by second round knockout. The next fight on the card, we got Kai Asakura versus Tim Elliot. I'm going to be picking Kai Asakura to win this fight by knockout. Now, I know that when they created the UFC flyweight division, they just typed in / Tim Elliot into the fucking command bar, and Tim Elliot spawned, and he has been in the top 15 of flyweight ever since its creation. But I think every dog has its day, and I think that, sometimes the fucking cat wins. I don't even know what I'm talking about, but I think that Kai Asakura is going to win this fight is what I'm trying to get at. I think Tim Elliott is slow. I think that Asakura has good takedown defense. Now, I know in his last fight, he didn't really display that very much, but that knee that he landed on Pantoja in the first 15 seconds would have probably put out most of the division. I think that he has shown the ability to hang with the best people in the world, like his fights against Kopp. And I think that Tim Elliott, he's just been fighting. I mean, he beat Tagir, he beat Sumerdaji, he lost to Mukayev. I think that if somebody actually, if you're top 10 worthy, I think you get beaten. And I think the UFC knew what they were doing, giving Asakura a title shot. They recognized his talent. Now, I didn't pick Asakura because I feel like this is the kind of matchup that Asakura should have gotten his debut. This is the kind of fight that needs to be made more often for these people. And we'll get to fucking Aaron Pico in a second. But this is the type of fight, like the Dan Ige fight for Pitbull. That's the fight that you should be making in his debut. The Tim Elliott fight for Asakura, that should be the debut fight. I made a whole video on this, but I don't like these fucking champions from other divisions getting shots up the rankings so fast because it's clear they're not UFC worthy until they get a couple of good wins, Adapt to the level of competition, But for Tim Elliott, man, I just think that we've seen him lose too many times. He's 38 years old. Asakura, it feels like all the momentum is for Asakura. And I think he'll be able to find Tim Elliott's chin, maybe a flying knee, maybe, pull out some of the rising moves. Maybe he'll land a grounded knee on him and put him out, But I think Asakura should handle this one with relative ease. And yeah, that's my prediction, Asakura by knockout. The next fight on the card, we got Jared Cannonier versus Michael Venom Paige. Now, I might be a little biased in this fight. Cannonier is one of my favorite fighters. If Cannonier has 1 million fans, I'm one of them. If Cannonier has 5 fans, I'm one of them. If Cannonier has 1 fan, that's me. If Cannonier has no fans, I'm no longer alive, all right? I think that Jared Cannonier has the ability to win this fight, and I think that Jared Cannonier will win this fight. I think that Jared Cannonier is going to defeat Michael Venom Paige by decision, okay? This is a risky pick, and I understand that, but I'm doing it. I think that the blueprint to defeat Michael Venom Paige is there. This guy, who has been in MMA for so long, cannot stuff takedowns. And I know that Jared Cannonier is not a grappler, but he has shown the ability to grapple. And he is also an older fighter. And I think that he has the experience and knowledge to take this fight to the realm that it needs to be taken to win. Ian Gary is a fucking vegan soy boy. And he was able to take Michael Venom Paige down. Kevin Holland, who we have seen to be terrible, was able to take Michael Venom Paige down. Shara Bullet, he didn't try to shoot takedowns until the last round, and that was just straight idiotic. If you strike with MVP, you're going to lose. And I guess what you could say is that he's kind of a long-rangey striker, and Cannonier has struggled against that in the past. Like, look at the fight with Adesanya. And I'll say, fair enough, bro. But Adesanya has iron takedown defense, and I think that Jared Cannonier has the ability to throw shots up top and then shoot takedowns. And I think that he's going to be able to mix the martial arts. I think he'll be able to get on top of MVP. Look at the Derek Brunson fight with Cannonier. I know he got wobbled in that fight, and I'll say this, bro. I think that Cannonier will get rocked at some point during this fight. But do I think he's going to get knocked out? No, he gets dropped a lot. But he doesn't really get finished. Except, the fight against, what was that guy's name? Imavov. That was an early stoppage. The fight against Barao, that honestly could have been called, but he still survived that. So I don't think that MVP, who has all decisions at this point in the UFC, is going to be able to finish Cannonier. He throws like 4 strikes around. Cannonier is going to be, like, this guy used to be 265 pounds. He used to be a heavyweight. I think that Jared Cannonier is going to be able to get a hold of Michael Venom Paige, and then once he grabs MVP, he's going to be able to take him to the ground and fuck him up. All right? And I'm going to be picking Jared Cannonier to win this fight by decision. I know it's kind of risky, and it's not what everyone's going to be going for, bro, but I think that Cannonier does a good job of, like, he's really good at game planning, finding out what your opponent's weakness is. He's good at, he can adapt, you know what I mean? Like, he can make adjustments mid-fight, and I think that's what the kind of fighter that you need to beat MVP. Now, I can see MVP just sleeping Cannonier, and everyone's going to say, age like milk, age like milk. All right, maybe it does age like milk, but I don't care. I got to go with my gut. When this fight got announced, I said Cannonier's going to win, and I still feel that way. I think MVP is a little bit overrated. This is, in fact, MMA. There is grappling in the fight, and I think Cannonier will be able to do that. And let me say something else, man. Cannonier is underrated. This guy arguably beat Strickland. He did beat Strickland. This guy beat fucking Sean Strickland, who's one of the greatest middleweights of all time. Adesanya was afraid of this guy to strike with him, bro. Cannonier is underrated, and he's actually one of the most entertaining fighters in the UFC right now as well. So I'm going to give Cannonier the love that he deserves. We're going with Cannonier, man. We're riding with the killer gorilla, man. We riding with the killer, all right? The next fight on the card, we got Jeff Neal versus CP. Now, you guys know how I feel about CP. I love it. I love watching CP. And it's honestly one of my favorite times is just sitting down, watching a little bit of CP with the boys. And I'm just kidding. His name's Carlos Prates, all right? FBI, all right? But I'm gonna be picking Carlos Prates to win this fight via knockout. All right. Now, don't underestimate Jeff Neal's abilities to have a fucking clinch fest in a boring ass fight. You look at the fight he had with Ian Gary. He arguably won that fight just off of fucking clinching Ian Gary. And, you know, he's had some stinkers, all right? But for the most part, I think that Jeff Neal has some of the best boxing in the welterweight division. And that's kind of what this fight is going to be, is will Prates be able to, you know, Prates is going to be the one on the back foot. Jeff Neal is going to be the one coming forward, trying to get inside range and box and clinch. And Prates is going to be trying to throw leg kicks and land the big shot to put Jeff Neal out. And ultimately, I think that Carlos Prates displayed in his last fight that he is a sniper and he can put anyone away. If he just has the fight IQ this fight, I think he should easily put Jeff Neal away. I think he should find the knockout. I think he should land the fucking shot to put Jeff Neal out. Second round, maybe a head kick, maybe a just a 1-2, same thing he landed on the leash. I can see it being brutal as fuck, but I think Jeff Neal is a little, you know, I think he kind of has a simplistic style. You know, he really doesn't mix it up too much. Like, he doesn't grapple. He'll clinch fest, but he won't grapple. He won't take it to the ground. He doesn't really throw much leg kicks. He doesn't really throw much to the body. He's really just out here headhunting. And when you do that against someone like, you know, fucking RDA or fucking Vicente Luque, you're going to get, you know, he literally gave Vicente Luque a brain bleed. And Luque hasn't been the same since. But you can do that against those guys that are kind of smaller in the division, maybe used to be 155ers. Carlos Prates he is good, man. He only has one loss in the UFC. It's to Ian Gary. I'm going to be picking CP, and I'm going to be watching CP, all right? The next fight on this card is Lerone Murphy versus Aaron Pico, all right? Oh, by the way, I'm picking Carlos Prates. The next fight on this card is Lerone Murphy versus Aaron Pico, and so I didn't know anything about Aaron Pico, bro. I saw all these Bellator fans hyping up Aaron Pico, and so I went and watched a couple of his other fights to see if he was any good. Maybe this Pico guy's got something to him, you know. Here's what I'm going to say about Aaron Pico, bro. The people that he has been fighting are not good at all, okay? Now, I'm not going to say Aaron Pico is a bad fighter, because I've watched his fights and he looks very good. He has super good grappling, super good wrestling. He has great power. He has decent striking. And he seems like he will fit in well in the top 15 of the UFC. I'm not buying this shit, bro. I'm not buying into this fucking Aaron Pico fucking La La Land that all these people are trying to drag me to. Now, I did this. This feels just like Patchy Mix versus Yair Rodriguez, where honestly, bro, Murphy is a better fighter than Yair Rodriguez right now. And Pico, he does not have as much hype as Patchy Mix. Patchy Mix was a champion in Bellator and a champion at the PFL. And he only ever had one loss on his record. Aaron Pico, he's got a couple of early losses, and I guess you could say he made his debut in Bellator. He never really had a regional career. And fair enough, bro. And this is not me trying to hate on Aaron Pico, because I want these Bellator people to be good. I want some, like, if Patchy Mix beat Mario Batista, I would have been so hyped, because it's like, oh God, we got this Bellator guy here now. He's just proved himself to be UFC worthy. I wonder if he can become champion. I don't think that's what's going to happen with Aaron Pico. And I have not been super impressed with Lerone Murphy, to be completely honest, either. If you look at Lerone Murphy, his fight with Josh Emmett, he won, but it was close, and I don't really rate Josh Emmett, and he got dropped by Dan Ige in his fight, and, you know, I don't think Lerone Murphy is all that too, and I think he'll lose to someone like Gene Silva or Volk or, you know, someone coming up, or I don't know. But I just don't buy into this fucking Aaron Pico shit, bro. Like, at least Lerone Murphy has beaten people like Edson Barbosa. He's beaten people like, I don't even know, but he's actually beaten MMA fight, like UFC fighters. He beat Emmett. He beat Ige. He beat fucking Edson Barbosa. He beat Kualaba, right? bro, he has a close fight with Gabriel Santos. The fight with Gabriel Santos, that's a better win than anyone that fucking Aaron Pico's beaten, bro. So, Aaron Pico, yeah, he is super impressive. And what he's done to these Bellator people is impressive. But is it really? Because the level of fighter between the fucking UFC and Bellator, it is on another... Like, he can look like a fucking killer out there. Like, if we took Movsar Evloev, and, you know, he's known as the most boring fighter in the UFC. If we took him and we stuck him in the fucking PFL or Bellator, he would run through that fucking bullshit like it was his... He would run Bellator, you know? If we put Edson Barbosa in Bellator right now, I think he could become champion, you know? I know Bellator doesn't exist. I meant PFL. But Pico fought in Bellator. You get the point I'm trying to make here. I don't rate the level of competition Pico has faced, and I have yet to see him be a high-level like MMA fighter, and so I can't pick him in this fight, man. I like his power advantage he holds over Murphy, and I like the ability that he has to put the fight away with one strike, but I just can't trust that shit, bro. Like, I can't just put all my eggs into this idea that maybe Aaron Pico will be good. Murphy has proven himself to be good time and time again, and yeah, man, I'm going to pick Lerone Murphy to win this fight by decision. I would not be surprised if Murphy got a finish as well. I know he doesn't get finishes, but if Pico is on the same standard as like some of these other Bellator people that have been making their debut, I mean, Lerone Murphy is an undefeated. He has proven himself to be great in the UFC. He's stapled himself into the top 10 of the division, and you know, Pico was training for a grappler in Movsar, and now he's fighting a striker. So I'm going to be picking Leon Edwards 2.0 to win this fight, all right? Let's get on to the main event of the evening. The one you guys have been waiting for. I think that this is the most hyped main event of the year so far. We got Dricus Du Plessis versus Khamzat. Everybody, I come for everybody. Kill everybody. I'm the king. I'm the I'm going to be picking Chimaev to win this fight, man. I think Khamzat Chimaev is going to bulldoze Dricus Du Plessis. On the screen right now, we have a couple of moments from Dricus' last couple of fights, all right? And I know it's like a meme. Bro, he got the goofy-ass style, man. He's funny AF. Look at him moving around in the octagon. He be throwing anvils. He be dropping pianos. He be rolling the toy cars on the fucking octagon. He's gonna get the fucking rocket and put it onto Dricus' back, and he's gonna fly around, and Khamzat's gonna look up, and then they're gonna, he's gonna paint a fake entrance into the octagon, and Chimaev's gonna run into it. He's gonna make himself a fucking vapor clone or whatever. But that's all well and good, bro. Like, you can say that's what's going to happen, but like on a technical level, Chimaev is just a better fighter in the first round than Dricus Du Plessis. All right, now I get it. Dricus is a super physical specimen, and he has good takedown defense, and we've seen him test it over and over again, and he's, you can look at all these fucking photos I got on the screen, and, he's won every single one of these fights. Despite looking as ridiculous as he does, he has won every single one of these fights, and, it might happen again. He might look like a fucking gorilla on a skateboard out there and just go out there and sleep Chimaev out cold, but Chimaev is undefeated. Chimaev has the best grappling and wrestling that I have ever seen in an MMA fighter. Nobody can shoot faster than this guy. Dricus isn't training with elite comp. He's training with fucking random Cameron Simon in South Africa because he wants to flex on Izzy and Usman and be like, I train in South Africa. I'm the real African. Well, when you get a real fight like this against Chimaev, you're going to want real training partners because your boy back home ain't gonna help you stuff a double leg from Chimaev, man. And I honestly think that if this fight gets out of the first round, yeah, I think it obviously leans more towards Dricus, and everybody's saying that, but I'm not one of these people that think Chimaev is just gonna be completely done. I don't think that Chimaev after the first round is just gonna be a complete shell of himself. Like, we have seen him still bang it out with Usman, even though he was sick. We saw, that fight should have been a draw, honestly. And that just is credit to how good Usman is and the lighter man skill that Usman holds. But we've seen him bang it out with Burns for 3 rounds. We've seen, he's had 5-round training camp against Whitaker, and I don't think he would have gone into that fight without having a backup plan if he didn't get the finish in the first round. And same with this, man. I think that Chimaev has improved fight to fight. And honestly, I just think that in the grappling, he's just technically better. And I think he's going to bulldoze Dricus. Like, Dricus got taken down by Rob in the first round. Dricus got taken down by Brunson. Brunson is the last guy we've seen try to use a grappling approach. And I guess you could say Dricus has gotten a lot better since then, and he has. But Brunson had a lot of success in that fight, and he's not even half the grappler that Chimaev is. We've just seen Chimaev go out there and bulldoze the hardest people in the division. Dricus, I just think he leaves himself open on the ground too much. He will make a mistake, and I think that Chimaev is just going to go out there, grab a neck in round 2, and I think he's going to sub him, bro. Like, I think Chimaev will submit Dricus Du Plessis. Dricus will be shaking his fist in the air. I'll get you next time, you rat! But I don't even know what I'm talking about, but I think that Chimaev's grappling is just on another level. I'm just glazing Chimaev right now, Chimaev, right? Who does that to Robert Whitaker? I guess you could say, bro, Whitaker was compromised beforehand. Just look at, there are levels to this game. And look how Whitaker got dispensed by Chimaev versus how he got dispensed by Dricus. I guess you could say Dricus just dog walked him or whatever, but Whitaker still landed some shit on on Dricus. Whitaker, he had nothing for Chimaev at all. And, I just think that Dricus hasn't really faced anybody like Chimaev before, and I think that's kind of the problem. It's like he hasn't really experienced this kind of shit in the UFC before, man. Like, it's going to be a rude awakening. I'm not a hater of Dricus as well. I want to say that. I really do like Dricus Du Plessis. His trash talk is the best in the game right now. And, say what you will about his style, but it is fun to watch. He brings the entertainment every time. But I don't think that he's going to be able to hang in the grappling, all right? I just think on a on a 1-to-1 level, Chimaev will go out there, he'll feint, he'll shoot, he'll get a fucking single leg, he'll dump Dricus, he'll probably get Dricus's back in a scramble or maybe grab his head, and he could submit him in the first round, but I think Dricus is good enough to get out of the first. Second round starts, and, people always talk about the cardio of Chimaev. What about the cardio of Dricus? And the Adesanya fight. Yeah, he got the finish in the 4th round, but he started to breathe out of his fucking mouth. He started slowing down. Dricus slows down in fights. Think about the first Strickland fight. The second Strickland fight, he just found the success. He found the ticket out for Strickland and dominated him. But you look at the first Strickland fight, he gassed a little bit in that one. He was huffing and puffing. I know he got the nose surgery now, so everything's fixed. I actually have the same problem as Dricus in the nose area. I got to get my fucking surgery as well. But, yeah, man. I just think that people kind of overrate how bad Chimaev will gas. And I think Dricus is physical enough to stuff some takedowns, but I don't think he's technical enough to do it, So I'm going to be picking Chimaev to win this fight by submission, first or second round. So here are my picks for the card. I'm picking Chimaev by submission, first or second round, probably first round. Lerone Murphy by decision, Prates by KO, Cannonier by decision, Asakura by knockout, Ferrer by knockout, Olazechek by knockout, Gadinz by decision, Hooper by submission, Barbosa by decision, Bryan by battle by knockout, Silva by decision, and Idris by knockout. Those are my picks for the card. If you like the video, like, subscribe, do all that YouTube shit. And listen, my picks have been phenomenal lately. I looked at Tapology, and it ranks the last 10 UFC events. I've got a 70% pick percentage in the last 10 events. So if you're thinking about throwing a little money, don't I'm not telling you to bet, bro, but if you want to make a little bit of money, go ahead. All right, so that'll do it for the video. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.